Hello, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Let's play chess. game. Good game. Alright. Very high quality game. My opponent and I played a high quality and accurate chess game. I feel great about the win. I'm going to stop after revealing my analysis. So it's not really revealing, but sharing. It's kind of more pro-social way of saying the same thing. Alright, I had the white pieces here. D6. It's the perk defense. It's actually pretty solid. It's timid. This is a bit timid, but it's known as the perk defense, and people play it, and it's it's solid. C4. I want to own the D5 square, and I'm going to play for my usual and most comfortable development of the knight to C3. So knight C3, E5, knight F3. Just both sides are showing this is going to be probably either a half open or a closed game. We've played this position before. I kick the bishop. I always feel that white gets some kind of very small edge from bishop takes f3, queen takes f3. As we see in the game, I feel white is doing well here. D3, just nothing crazy, supporting some important pawns in the center. This bishop on f1, he's pretty much, he's stuck where he is for a little while anyway. So d3 doesn't really count against that because he's sitting into the back of the pawn, yes, but he's sitting in the back of the c4 pawn otherwise. So might as well make way for white's dark squared bishop to become a strong part of the game here. You go to g5, e3, d2. H6 is possible under certain circumstances. If black decides to ditch the idea of the fianchetto, then bishop to h6 could be right on for white. Bishop g7. So black's going to fianchetto, has just fianchettoed. But I have more attackers on f6 than not enough for material win, but we're really pushing a lot of pressure against the knight at f6. Knight d5 is in keeping with that. We got 3 pieces against f6 and with only 2 pieces defending. My opponent found a really awesome and really only move kind of time here, and that move in the clutch was knight to d4. Not just threatening the fork of knight to c2 check, and my opponent will get at least the exchange on a1, perhaps the entire rook. Also threatening the white's queen along the way. And nuts and bolts or by the book, this doesn't matter because the actual threat's on c2. But how often are players going to play queen to d1? They see their queen threatened. There's no more attack on f6. Nuh-uh, that's not the case. There's still the attack on f6. So queen to d1 to save against the fork on c2 is not the way to go. Seems weird. We're going to let our queen dangle there because knight takes f6 check must be dealt with by black before any ideas of queen takes f3 can come to fruition. With the recapture, this might jar. Some players have been banking on queen d1 or some other method of saving the queen by moving it. In this case, the better move was knight takes f6. I'm just trying to get a readout from, here we go. There are some ways here. There's one way for black to kind of save the situation, and that's king to f8. Yeah. But the game will stay level, and there's some dynamic ways that white can retreat the queen to d1. It shows here. Torch has bishop takes f6 occurring on black's turn, and then retreating the bishop back to e3 and so on. But yeah, my opponent made this mistake of bishop takes f6, so I'll capitalize on it the correct way, and that's with the queen, moving her out of harm's way. I believe it's the only good move. Yeah, it's the only good move, but it's also a recapture, so that happens a lot. That the only good move, once your opponent has captured your queen, is to capture your opponent's queen back in some manner. Probably with the pawn, not with the queen that's off the board. Okay, so only moves are like that. When all the dust clears, white has a better position because of king d2 finally. And white has an extra piece. The bishop pair is often heavily sought, especially in late middle game and end game situations. You can cover either color square at long range. Okay, so the bishop pair are strong here, but then again, so is black's knight on d4. Right? Who's kicking this knight? Not me, says e4. Not me, says c4. Not me, says d3. Not me, says bishop at f1. a1 says, I'm a rook. I don't exchange with knights. What indignity is this? And the rook at h1 says, I am also a rook. You should listen to my fellow rooks. It is an indignity to be sacrificed for one mere knight on the d4 square. Yeah, the rooks are worth more than knights, so I don't want to have to exchange them off. An accurate move. My opponent knows he can come back to d4, and I played this move. It's not the best move. There was a part of it as a better move here. Bishop to g5. Torch has moves like f4, maybe undermining the support. That's smart. Okay, I like that. Pawn to f4, then either the support moves away to where it's not as big a deal and that now the bishop covers it, or the support stays where it is because you can't move through the e4 pawn. Then I play f takes e4, and black plays maybe d takes, I meant e5. F takes e5, then black plays maybe d takes e5, then after bishop takes e5, white is 1-2 pieces, and there's no longer the support for black's knight should he return to d4. So I think this is a really stellar move that Torch has found. f4. That's in the that's how it could have gone. Instead, I harassed not harassed. I attacked the rook on f8 with bishop g7. Of course, the rook's gonna move to g8, and bishop to h6 occurs. Like I said, it might have, but in a very different way, I suppose. And the problem here is that the bishop is at risk of getting trapped. Not 100%, but it forced a concession out of me. And here I'm giving up pawn for pawn, so far no material damage. This bishop does not look like a... I don't want him there, okay? I don't. Perhaps if you calculate it out, rook g6 doesn't end up losing white the bishop because there's protection on that. There's protection on h6 from h1. I don't know. Gee, that seems mighty, mighty testy for that. So what I saw is a different line, and as in the game, bishop takes g5. So yes, we're gonna lose these 3 points. So those 3 points we lose, but then we gained one by way of the pawn that white collected, and then another here. There's also a tempo of initiative for white to gain upon rook to h8 check, or at this point really, because if black doesn't address rook to h8 check, he's going to lose one or the other rook. So he must address it now, giving white back the turn. So we're pretty much, we got compensation for the dark squared bishop. White was compensated for the dark squared bishop that he gave up, I say. And pawn to g4 is bait. I offered some. This is bait, and we saw that the bait was taken. And of course, pinned the rook to the king. Not satisfied with just the exchange, I'll play rook to h4, and then even, here capturing with the rook is a fine move for this tactic. This is either black must trade his last long range piece, black must trade her last long range piece, or lose it is another possibility, or face the consequence of a discovered check made against black's king. So rook takes g4 was definitely the best move, but it also is better than having captured with the bishop first, because I got a rook trade out of the deal. And this knight is strong on d4. Now my rook is awake. My rook on a1, he's about to be awake. He's had some coffee. Okay, he had his morning newspaper, and he might have eaten some kind of breakfast sandwich. He's in much better mood. He's, oh, hey, how y'all doing? A1 rook knight removal. Just wanted to let you know I'm in town. If you need a knight removed, I can do it. And so he goes to c1, and king says, sure deal. Go to c4 and look around. So he said, I'll be there. And the knight takes care of this, or the rook takes care of this knight most directly, but this board is also easily won. I know how to navigate a board like this, and my opponent soon resigns. Fantastic game. What a wild game. I felt my opponent played very well. I felt I played very well. No one has anything to hang their heads about or worry. It was just an awesome, really awesome game. I am going to play this out till practice. This will be my last part of this broadcast and streaming. But I was going to play this out. I said play this out till practice. Done already, man. I'll play this out to finish, to checkmate is what I really mean. Now, seeing that my opponent has moves after b4, I can move to b4 here and be plenty safe. Let's push him back rather than let him slide through. I'm pushing the black king back rather than letting him overcommit. All right. We'll get the accuracy calculations, and then I'm going to sign off, at least for probably for the day. Wonderful game. All right. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Gravitrons. And more gravity. Have a great night.